welcome to Young Kizzy, the one YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the red subscribe button down below and turn on the bell icon. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section.
Distinguished colleagues, Zambia is not just any country. Zambia is a Christian nation. We believe in the dignity of life. We believe in the sanctity of death. We believe that even in death, a human being, especially our late president, deserves to be treated with reverence. What we have witnessed raises deeply troubling questions about the values and intentions of those who allowed this abomination to happen. Distinguished colleagues, allow me at this moment to turn to the church. The church cannot be silent. Not now. Not on this matter. Especially that the late president was a man of faith who openly believed in Jesus Christ. To remain quiet in the face of this is to abandon that very foundation he tried to help build for the nation. We also turn to our traditional leaders, who are the custodians of our customs and our heritage. You will all agree with me, fellow citizens, that our known traditions as Zambians do not permit what has happened in South Africa. And certainly our culture does not accept this. What has happened is an abomination, both in the eyes of our Christian faith and in the eyes of our African values. We therefore call upon you all chiefs to speak and bring this matter forcefully before President Hakainde Hichilema. He must, for the first time, be held to account for doing what none of his 6 predecessors have done, to bring shame upon this nation. We also strongly condemn attempts by the UPND to trivialize such an important matter by allowing very junior cadres to address our concerns. It is an insult to the collective intelligence of the Zambian people and a disrespect to the legacy of our former president. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of Zambia deserve answers from those in authority, not proxies or spin doctors. We therefore demand that both the government of Zambia and South Africa should to clearly explain the following. Number 1, who authorized this act? 2, under what law was it done? 3, why was the family excluded? 4, what exactly was done to the body of our former president? To the international human rights institutions, regional bodies and global partners who have long regarded Zambia as a peaceful and stable democracy, we urge you to take note of this disturbing development. Members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, this situation, if left unaddressed, risks undermining Zambia's long-standing reputation as a peaceful nation and may threaten public trust in state institutions. The world must not remain silent when fundamental principles of human dignity, the rule of law, and respect for the dead are in question. As Tonse Alliance, and as the opposition in general, we will not accept vague statements. This nation will not accept silence. We will not be cowed into submission because this is no longer just a political issue, but it's about whether we as a people still recognize the line between right and wrong. Today, that line has been crossed by President Hakainde Hichilema and his government. As Tonse Alliance, the opposition in general, we therefore unequivocally demand President Hakainde's accountability. We demand transparency from his government. And above all, we demand respect for Dr. Lungu's body, his family, and the 20 million Zambians he religiously and passionately served. May God help us all as we continue to mourn our dear departed president, Tonse Alliance founder, Dr. Lungu, and may God strengthen the family of our late president. I thank you.
We'll get additional comments from Honorable Dr. Oplande, just to add on to what the President has said.
No, an independent statement, not adding on to the statement, really. This is a press statement on the violation of the remains of the late sixth Republican President, His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Fellow Zambians, members of the press, Mr. President, honorable members of Parliament, Mr. Vice President of Tonsi, I've just seen you, Madam Vice President of Tonsi Alliance, Honorable Makalombe, and many other that may be sitting behind, fellow citizens of this great and once proud nation. I wish to address you today with a deep sense of shock, outrage, and profound national grief. On 22nd April 2026, which sadly for me personally happens to have been my birthday, somebody chooses to desecrate something so important to the soul of this nation. The nation woke up to disturbing reports, now confirmed, that agents of government of the Republic of Zambia, working in collaboration with foreign security personnel, forcibly removed the mortal remains of our late sixth Republican President Edgar Chagwa Lungu from a mortuary in South Africa without the consent, presence, or knowledge of his family. Even more disturbing, fellow citizens, it has now been confirmed that, one, the body was removed under questionable legal authority and in defiance of due process. Two, a post-mortem was conducted without family consent or legal justification. Three, false claims, including allegations of suspected poisoning, were recorded without any factual basis. Fourth, a court order issued in South Africa directing the return of the body was brazenly ignored. Fifth, no family representative, or legal representative for that matter, was present at any stage of this process. These facts, fellow citizens, are not speculation. They are clearly documented in the official statement issued this morning by the family through their spokesperson, Honorable Makebi Zulu. This is a national shame and a moral collapse. Fellow citizens, let us be very clear. This is not merely a political issue, as my brother said earlier. This is a moral crisis, an abomination, and a dent on the conscience of our republic. This is a constitutional and human rights violation of the highest order. The actions taken by the government under the leadership of Hakainde Hichilema represent, one, a gross abuse of power, two, a desecration of the dignity of the dead, three, a violation of family rights and cultural norms, four, a direct assault on the rule of law, both in Zambia and internationally. In a nation that proudly declares itself a Christian nation, we are guided by values of dignity, respect for the dead, compassion for the bereaved, and adherence to the cause of justice. What has transpired is an exact opposite of these values. This is an attack on Zambian culture and an attack on humanity. In our African tradition, death is sacred. The dead are treated with reverence. Families are accorded the highest respect in matters concerning their loved ones. To storm a mortuary, seize a body, and subject it to procedures without consent is not only unlawful, it is culturally offensive and spiritually disturbing and empty. If a government can act with such disregard towards a former head of state, we must ask, what protection remains for the ordinary citizen like you and me? This is a dangerous precedent. This incident sets a chilling precedent for Zambia, that the state can override families at will, that court orders can be ignored with utter impunity when inconvenient, that truth can be manipulated through fabricated claims, that power can be exercised without accountability. Fellow Zambians, this is not governance. This is unchecked authority, an extreme abuse of the people's power conferred on those who govern on behalf of the people. A call to the church and traditional leadership. At this critical moment in our nation's history, I wish to make a solemn and respectful appeal. Firstly, to the church in Zambia. I wish to call upon all church mother bodies, bishops, pastors, and faith leaders across denominations to rise and speak with one voice. This is a moral issue that transcends politics. The church has always been the conscience of the nation. We therefore urge you, Mother Church, to publicly condemn this sinful act, to stand with the bereaved family in their time of distress, to remind the nation and its leaders of the sanctity of life and death, to uphold Zambia's declaration as a Christian nation, not only in word, but in action. Silence at such a time, dear church, risks being interpreted as acceptance and conceit. To their Royal Highnesses and traditional leaders, I equally call upon our traditional leaders, the custodians of our culture, heritage, and moral order, to take a clear and principled stand on this matter. Our traditions are unequivocal. 1, the dead must be treated with utmost dignity. 2, families must be accorded respect and authority over their loved ones. 3, cultural rights and processes must never be violated by force. I therefore urge our traditional leaders to condemn this act without reservation, to guide the nation on the cultural implications of such conduct, and to help restore respect for the values that define us as a people. A call to the Zambian people. Fellow Zambians, as we approach the 2026 general elections, this moment must serve as a turning point in our national conscience. This is no longer about political parties, as both of us have said before. This is about the soul of our nation. We must ask ourselves some very serious questions. Do we want a Zambia where law is respected, or do we want a Zambia where law is abused at will? Do we want a Zambia where leaders show humility, or do we want a Zambia where leaders show arrogance? Do we want a Zambia guided by values, or a Zambia guided by raw power? We have seen this show of arrogance and impunity before. Yes, we saw it in the passing of Bill 7 against the will of the people of this country. We have seen it imposed in the delimitation of constituencies and in so many instances before. Is this what you Zambians want to live under for another 5 years? Your vote in 2026, in August, will answer all these questions. Our demands. I wish at this juncture, on behalf of the People's Party, and indeed I believe on behalf of other political parties in this country, to make the following demands unequivocally. We demand an immediate and independent international inquiry into the events of 22nd to 23rd April 2026. We demand full accountability from all Zambian officials involved in this immoral act. We demand a formal apology from the government to the Lungu family and the Zambian people. Finally, we demand guarantees from this government that such excesses will never happen again. Our commitment as a party, we stand united, and I believe with other opposition parties, in defending the rule of law. We stand united in defending the dignity of every Zambian citizen, living or deceased. We stand united, fellow citizens, to defend the values that define us as a Christian nation and an African nation that respects culture and tradition. We will not remain silent in the face of injustice. We will not remain silent in the face of impunity. We will not remain silent in the face of abuse. In conclusion, fellow citizens, a nation is judged not by how it treats the powerful, but by how it respects the vulnerable, including the dead. What happened in South Africa is a stain on our national conscience. But it is also a wake-up call. Zambia must choose dignity over impunity, justice over fear, and above all, values over power. May God bless and guide our nation. I thank you.
Well, we'll allow the press to ask 3 questions.
Good afternoon. My name is Palunga from Millennium Radio. My question is, the UPND have got a tendency of flashing certain things of spinal serious. In a case this happens to this case, are there any plans or action that you have prepared to take in a case that happens? Thank you.
The next question?
Thank you so much. I'm Barnabas Zulu from Dead Nation. My question goes to President. What is your message to international human rights body of the happenings which have taken place in the last 48 hours? And aside from that, there seems to be impunity in the way citizens are being handled in terms of them doing their rights. So what is your message to the international human rights bodies? One more question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. The gentleman there asks that there seems to be a laissez-faire attitude by the UPND when it comes to handling serious matters. You are very correct. Even in this particular case, we are aware that they've launched some of their proxies to go around and on the pretext that the postmortem was carried out because of some investigations. I think in our statement we have responded to that. That is just one example. we know that the UPND has gotten away with a number of things in the recent past. Whether you're talking about cases of corruption, you're talking about cases of theft, and so on. The starting point for the Zambian people should be that the greatness of any nation is judged from its fidelity to the Constitution, how well it respects the law. So, as you begin to judge the UPND, we are going into elections. So when judging how they have performed, your question serves as a starting point. How serious is this government? Can this government carry this lovely country called Zambia for the next 5 years? If a government can trivialize and handle serious matters with a laissez-faire attitude, can that government be said to be a serious government? These are questions that only the Zambian people can answer. We have all witnessed this particular trend. Today, we are talking about President Edgar Chagwa-Lungu's body in South Africa. It's close to a year. The family has been fighting. The family has been punished for close to a year. The remains of President Lungu remain unburied. 2 days ago, we heard that some Zambians with South Africans went to the morgue and collected the body without family knowledge. Just when we thought the court had intervened, we learnt of a court order which was obtained late in the night. And most Zambians drew comfort from that, thinking that the fact that the UPND were operating in a different jurisdiction, they would respect the law. We were wrong. The UPND can disrespect the law, ignore the law, even when they find themselves in other jurisdictions. In this particular case, according to the family spokesperson, the court order was obtained around 22, 23 hours. And at 08 the very following day, they started the post-mortem procedures when they were fully aware that there was a court order. And that's the government that we have today. That's a government that would come back to you as Zambians and ask for your vote in August this year. So in answering your question, I want to submit that the UPND government has failed seriously. They have failed terribly, especially in the application of the rule of law. There's been total failure, and the Zambians must respond to this failure by voting out the UPND come August 2013. What Zambians need? They need a government that, one, will respect human rights, respect and protect human rights. A government that will be tolerant, a government that will respect the rights of citizens, that will include the right to assemble, the right to speak. Today, as you sit here, our young journalists, you tread very cautiously even before you ask a question. Because if you express yourselves freely, the next moment to be behind bars. That's not the government that should seek re-election this year in August, on August 13th. So, the other one asked about the international community. Yes, if you followed our address, we have called on the international community to seriously look at the many violations that have been perpetuated by the UPND government. If you look at the human rights record in our country, going by the reports that were carried out by the UN and other agencies, we now have a very bad human rights record because of the many violations that have been caused by the UPND government. So to the Zambian people, we want you to take interest and also read some of these reports. Do not believe what the UPND says. The fact that many Zambians are unable to speak to these facts, the fact that many Zambians are unable to bring out these violations for fear of being abducted or indeed arrested, does not mean there are no human rights violations. Take time, get your copy of these reports and read to understand exactly what your country is going through. So, colleagues, on the seriousness, I think we have tackled on the international community, and indeed on the aspect of the international human rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this point in time, I will ask the Honorable Stephen Kamkyongo to give us his vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mwewa. Let me start by recognizing the Tonse President, Honorable Brian Mutara Mungubire, the People's Party President, Dr. Tibetan Koplande, public servant many years, the first Vice President of Tonse, State Council Chifumubanda, who was also our distinguished presiding officer of the National Assembly of Zambia. Let me also recognize the second Vice President of Tonse, our distinguished female lady amongst us here today. And we want to thank her for being with us at the funeral where we came from. And we start by extending condolences to you, Mr. President, for the loss that you have suffered as a family. I also recognize President Cosmo Mumba, who was also one of the religious coordinators at the funeral, which we had this afternoon. We also thank you for the work that you did. The Secretary General of Tonse, Dr. Zumani, all the Tonse leaders, if I haven't forgotten anyone, and let me appreciate the presence of my fellow honorable members of Parliament who are with us, and all the leaders that are present today. As I give a vote of thanks, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to start by commending the two leaders, the President of Tonse and the People's Party President, for speaking out on the disturbing reports coming from the Republic of South Africa. Indeed, as a nation, we need to wake up and hold these colleagues of ours in government accountable. I and my colleagues from the National Assembly leaders, we know that we are coming from an institution which should provide oversight functions on the state, as well as holding government on behalf of the people accountable. We expected that today, either the leader of government, business, could come to Parliament to address these sad developments that we have just spoken to. Alas, it was quiet. And when we realized that there was that quietness from government, I and my honorable young brother, the Honorable MP Fonkana, attempted to raise these matters through a segment called Urgent Matters Without Notice, because we thought these matters were urgent matters that the state needed to address. So Honorable Bini Mpundu went first, trying to bring this matter up. He was curtailed. I went in second, and we were told in no uncertain terms that we needed to find another avenue. Now, if we, who are people's representatives, cannot be given space to speak on behalf of the concerns of our people, who else is going to speak to the people? I know that the State Council is here was presiding officer and knows that that's a place, Palais is for us to go and talk on behalf of the people. Now, we wanted to remind the state that only a month ago, Mr. Muliro Kabesha, who is the Attorney General of the Republic of Zambia, voluntarily came to the state, to the nation, and informed the nation that despite the matter of President Edgar Chagwarungu's remains being in court, they had started engagement with the family as government so that there could be some common ground reached. Now, we don't know whether common ground to be reached entailed to go and steal a body. Because he is the one who came to the public. And so when we wanted to raise these matters was to question, because unfortunately people of Zambia, Mr. Muliro Kabesha, yes, we know he comes from the UPND, where he was a member of the National Management Committee, but he should know that the privilege has been given to serve the nation as Attorney General. He must stand out and not behave as an extension of UPND in government. We shall hold him accountable, regardless of what time it will take, for the lawlessness he's engaging in himself. Because as I said, he comforted the nation that they had started discussions with the Rungu family, only to come and be treated to this news. And speaking as former Minister of Home Affairs, I'm extremely baffled, because that speaks to high levels of corruption. That there are no procedures that were followed, and like Dr. Copeland was saying, it will just be reasonable that an international inquiry is engaged to establish the truth. We don't want to comment on what is happening about the SAPs in the Republic of South Africa, where we saw the president suspending the Commissioner General of the South African Police Service. We don't want. We know we have been following on the inquiries that are going on there. We will leave them to deal with such matters. But our concern is, if in the past we have heard of people saying Judge Kuria, meaning a judge could be corrupted, what would stop the officer, police officer, to be corrupted to do what they did? So these are serious concerns, and now we are a laughing stock as Zambia in the SADC region and beyond, because we have been hitting headlines on the international news platforms for wrong reasons. So, like the president of Tonsa said, people of Zambia are suspicious. Mind you, this is a country where we had Fuitis going to court not too long ago. So you know, everything is possible. But we don't expect the government to continue trivializing this matter. If we can't express ourselves in Parliament and raise it in Parliament, we expect, like the President has said, the head of state to come and clear the air on these issues. It shouldn't take, you know, people like Simue and they are too junior to speak about these matters. We're talking about a former head of state. And they should know where I come from. We say, Chiringo lingilako mnove. The measure used against others could be the same exact measure that could be used against you. Who knows? August might be producing another former head of state. We wouldn't want that former head of state to be subjected to what Edgar Chagwarungu has been subjected to when he was alive and in his death. We wouldn't want to see that. So we are calling upon those that are responsible to make sure that they do the right thing. I want to conclude by referring to the passionate plea that State Council Chifumbanda made when we lost one of our distinguished gallant ladies of this country, Madam Edith Nawakwe. At the Cathedral Anglican Church, he made a passionate plea. And I thought that speech was going to go into the ears of the powers that be. He did mention that from that moment, we needed the country to start healing because something was going to happen. It's like he was prophesying. Here we are today. And people of Zambia must know. It was Madam Edith Nawakwi first, President ECO next. Who would be next? So, in thanking you leaders, we need to continue appealing to the people of Zambia to understand that what we are going through is not normal. In a society where we claim to be Christians, in a society which should be anchored on rule of law, in a society where government institutions are supposed to observe the doctrine of separation of powers, Parliament offering oversight functions on the executive, and the executive performs their duties as assigned by the Constitution. So the people of Zambia have got a responsibility this coming August. It's not far. And we shall soon be all coming to you, the people of Zambia, to make a decision on how we are going to be governed. I thought I could just add those few comments as I give a vote of thanks. Once again, we would have loved to have more leaders, but indeed, this was an urgent one, and those of you who have spoken on behalf of your fellow leaders must be commended for this initiative. Thank you very much, and I want to thank the press for also making time to come and cover this briefing by the two leaders on behalf of the other leaders. Thank you very much.
The press has requested for one more question from Millennium, specifically for Honorable Bino.
Specifically. Why specifically?
Maybe it's a question.
What's the question, guys?
Basically, I would like to get your comment on the National Assembly Bill number 45, which is intended to regulate the conduct of members of parliament, whereby to some extent members of parliament can be jailed for misconduct.
So you are going to legislate upon yourselves.
So thank you so much for that. Is a very important question. I think those who follow my social media platforms have actually spoken to that matter. Fellow citizens, let me mention this so that we are clear and you have a full understanding. First of all, a society is measured by its laws. Okay, now those of you who have followed events will remember that prior to the 2021 general election, the UPND had rubbished the cyber laws that were enacted by PF. And President HH had promised that once they are elected into power, the first thing they would do would be to remove the cyber laws. Fast forward after UPND is elected, you saw what they did. Instead of removing the cyber laws that they awesomely condemned, they went on to create more cyber laws. Now we have two pieces of cyber laws called the cyber security and cyber crimes law. So instead of having one law they condemned that was created by PF, we now have two pieces of legislation under the heading cyber crimes law. Besides that, we also have the CCTV law. Was it referred back? Yes. Yeah, so we also have another law which they are calling the CCTV law. Now, the CCTV law is a law that was going to give them power to install cameras even in your toilets. This is a law that was going to give them power to insert gadgets and cameras in your bedrooms. Now, let's speak to this issue, fellow citizens. Number one, through the two pieces of legislation, the cyber laws, the UPND have managed to completely zip you up. Because today, whenever you speak, you'll be subjected to the cyber law test. How many of our citizens are talking today? So what the UPND have literally done today is to sit on your rights to express yourselves. There is nobody who is talking in this country today. So when the UPND realized that after shutting the citizens up, the parliamentarians are still talking. So they are not comfortable that Parliament is still holding them accountable. So what they want now to do is to now go and shut the MPs up. So they have now proposed an amendment to what we call the Parliamentary Code of Conduct. Okay? So in the Code of Conduct, they are proposing, number one, that if a member of Parliament says anything they are going to call unverified, or a member of Parliament makes some allegation that is not verifiable, now the members of Parliament will be dragged to the courts of law, they will be prosecuted. Remember, the members of Parliament speaks for the people. That is why in the wisdom of those that came before us, they created immunities for members of Parliament. We are protected for everything that we say in Parliament. Now, the catch is not only what we say on the floor of the House. We are protected even on statements we make within what they call the precinct of Parliament. Now, precinct of Parliament is a surrounding of Parliament, around the parliamentary buildings, as well as in our motels. So any statement today under immunities of Parliament that I make within the precinct, nobody can take me to court. Now you, the people, are aware. Munia Zulu, our colleague, the member of Parliament, former member of Parliament for Lumezi, was actually sent to jail against the immunities that he enjoyed. Okay? I wish you to now take it up from here. What the UPND are trying to do now is they realized that they messed up. They sent a member of Parliament to jail without following the law. Because Munia, by all standards, let's be hypothetical here. Whatever statement Munia made could have been defamatory. But he made that statement while it's being covered by these immunities. Because that statement was made within the precinct of Parliament. Okay? Now, when they've now realized that they sent an innocent man against the law to jail, they now want to more or less sanitize whatever it is that they did. That is why they have now made a proposal that they take away the cover that the MPs enjoy on the basis that what you have said is unverifiable. Now, let me challenge you. You have seen how many times I've been sent out of Parliament on the basis that, no, if you're under as an example, when I spoke to the issue of CBU, the meal allowances, you all watched, okay? I spoke to facts on the ground that the CBU students were not paid their meal allowances. The minister came and lied on the floor of the House, and on that basis, Madam Nelly Muti claimed I had misled the country and sent me out of Parliament. The following day, I'm sure all of you are aware, I was vindicated because whatever it is that I said was actually the truth. Now imagine when they now change the rules of Parliament under this proposal, that whatever it is that you say that they now measure according to their measurement to be unfactual, they can now commence a criminal case on you and you go to jail. Now, I will tell you this. Not even Idireshi William Musebo can think the way the UPND are thinking. Because to suggest today that you must go and take the immunities of parliamentarians, I want to repeat, not cannot think like that. But do you know why the UPND can go to this extent? Because we, the Zambian people, have given them the liberty to do whatever they are doing. Okay, remember, a dictator is not born as a dictator. Dictators are created. Created how? By the laws. Further to this, they are actually proposing within that same proposal that now the president can now create a statutory instrument that will now regulate the conduct of Parliament. If you thought Naripenaine, go and read that. Because now the president feels by sending the speakers to go and control parliament, it's not working to his satisfaction. He now wants to be the one to create the law. He comes up with a statutory instrument to now describe how, parliamentary conduct should be regulated. Vane, this is the end of the country once this law passes. Because whereas you have all been zipped, we are talking for you, we have been speaking for you, even on sensitive matters. But when that proposal goes through, there will not be anyone who will be speaking for you. Literally, all members of parliament that will go in the next parliament after August, they will, for as long as they will be on the opposition, they will now be sitting in parliament like zombies. Zipped up. Especially that now you have parliamentarians you will not have parliament anymore. So the UPND must be seen for who they are. They are a bunch of little scared men. They are, in short, criminals who are trying to take away completely our liberties as citizens, taking away our freedom to speak, to express ourselves, and most importantly, they don't want to be held accountable. Because one of the duties of citizens is to hold your government accountable. But when you have laws that takes away that, then there's no country. Thank you very much.
That's a very bad law.